She was 4 points away from her first WTA title. 4 championship points, 4 swings of the racket that would have changed everything. And then, in the blink of an eye, it all slipped away. July 2025, Eastbourne, the final. Eala was just 20 years old, on the verge of history. She had already become the first Filipina to reach a WTA singles final. She was 1 set away from a breakthrough that would announce her arrival on the biggest stage in tennis. 4 times she stood on the brink of victory. 4 times she watched it slip through her fingers. Maya Joint, the Australian teenager, saved every championship point, clawed her way back, and stole the title in a dramatic 6-4, 1-6, 7-6, 12-10 victory. Now, 365 days later, the ghosts of Eastbourne have come back to life at Wimbledon. Eala stormed into the second round with a dominant 6-1, 6-2 victory over Renata Zarazua. But the dream showdown with Serena Williams, the match everyone had been waiting for, never happened. Instead, Maya Joint did the unthinkable. She defeated the 23-time Grand Slam champion in a late-night center court thriller, 6-3, 6-7, 6, 6-3, ending Williams's comeback after 1,396 days away from the sport. The stage is set for a rematch that nobody saw coming, a battle between 2 rising stars, 2 friends, 2 rivals who know each other's games intimately. And this time, Eala is determined to write a different ending. Is this the moment Eala finally exorcises the ghost of Eastbourne, or will Maya Joint break her heart all over again? She held 4 championship points. She was 1 swing away from her first WTA title. And then, in the blink of an eye, it all slipped away. July 2025, the seaside town of Eastbourne, England. The final of the WTA 250 tournament. Eala was just 20 years old, and she was on the verge of history. She had already become the first Filipina to reach a WTA singles final, 1 match away from a breakthrough that would announce her arrival on the biggest stage in tennis. The crowd was behind her. The momentum was hers. She could taste victory. 4 times she stood on the verge of glory. 4 championship points, 4 chances to close out the match, 4 swings of the racket that would change everything. And 4 times Maya Joint refused to go away. The 19-year-old Australian, ranked outside the top 80, had no business being in this position. She had fought through the qualifiers just to reach the main draw. She had nothing to lose and everything to gain. And gain she did. Joint saved every championship point. She clawed her way back from the brink of defeat. She forced a 3rd set. She pushed Eala to the limits of her endurance. And when the final point landed, after 2 hours and 52 minutes of grueling tennis, it was the Australian who emerged victorious. The final score, 6-4, 1-6, 7-6, 12-10. In the deciding tiebreak, Joint held her nerve, while Eala's heart broke into 1,000 pieces. The Filipina had come agonizingly close to her first WTA title. She had held 4 championship points. She had been 1 swing away from history. But tennis is a cruel sport. It doesn't care about how close you came, it only remembers who won. Eala walked off the court in tears. She had given everything she had. She had fought until her legs gave out. She had come within inches of a dream and watched it slip away. I had a really great match with Maya last year, so I'd love to have the chance to improve on some things that I could have improved from that match. Those words, spoken with the calm of someone who had processed her pain, masked the fire that had been burning inside her ever since. The ghost of Eastbourne had followed her for an entire year. Every practice, every match, every moment of doubt, she had replayed those 4 championship points in her mind 1,000 times. She had wondered what she could have done differently. She had vowed that if she ever got another chance, she wouldn't let it slip away. Now, at Wimbledon, that chance had arrived. But the path to redemption would take an unexpected turn. one that nobody saw coming.
If the Eastbourne final was Eala's lowest moment, the months that followed were her redemption. She didn't let the heartbreak define her. She didn't let the loss break her spirit. Instead, she channeled her pain into something far more powerful: determination. The grass court season of 2026 began with a statement. At the Birmingham Open, a WTA 125 event, Eala bulldozed through the draw, dropping just one set in 5 matches to claim her second career 125 title. It was her first title on grass, a surface that was supposed to be her weakness. Instead, she had made it her strength. But she was just getting started. Next came Berlin. Eala entered the WTA 500 tournament as a wild card and a debutante. Nobody expected much. She was facing some of the biggest names in tennis, players who had won Grand Slams, players who had been ranked in the top 10. And then she started winning. First, she dismantled Donna Vekic, the Croatian who had just won the Queen's Club title. Then came the moment that stopped the tennis world cold, a stunning victory over world number 2 Elena Rybakina in the round of 16. Then another over world number 8 Jelena Svitolina in the quarterfinals. 2 top 10 victories in a single tournament, a run to the semi-finals, 9 wins in her last 10 grass court matches, a 9-3 record on grass for the season, a WTA 125 title, a WTA 500 semi-final, victories over 2 top 10 players. The points from Berlin pushed her into the top 30. When world number 9 Victoria Mgboko withdrew from Wimbledon due to injury, Eala moved up to the number 29 seed. She had become the first Filipino in tennis history, across both the amateur and open eras, to earn a seed at a Grand Slam. "I think that I played really well and kept the intensity throughout the whole match," Eala said after her dominant first-round victory. The journey had been long, the sacrifices had been immense, but Eala had arrived. She was the player everyone was talking about, the woman who had come to conquer Wimbledon. And conquer she did, in just 77 minutes, 6-1, 2-2, becoming the first Filipino to win a Wimbledon singles match in the Open era. But as she walked off the court, she knew the real test was yet to come, because waiting in the wings was the woman who had broken her heart exactly 1 year earlier. And Maya Joint had just done the unthinkable. The dream showdown with Serena Williams had vanished into the London night. In its place stood a 20-year-old Australian who had just done the unthinkable. Maya Joint had no business being on center court. At least that's what the rankings suggested. She had entered Wimbledon, ranked number 87 in the world. She had lost her last 11 matches heading into the tournament. A back injury had derailed her entire season. She had won just 1 match since January. She had started the 2026 season at number 32 and had slipped to number 87. And standing across the net was the greatest champion the sport had ever seen, Serena Williams, 23-time Grand Slam winner, 7-time Wimbledon champion, a woman who had won 98 matches at the England club, a woman who had not played a singles match in nearly 4 years, 1,396 days since the 2022 US Open, a woman who had accepted a wild card into Wimbledon, hoping to write one final chapter in her legendary career. The center court crowd was overwhelmingly behind Williams. They chanted her name, they roared with every winner, they willed her to victory. Joint knew the crowd would favor the legend. She had prepared herself for it, but she refused to be intimidated. "I always dreamed about playing Serena Williams," Joint had said before the match. "If you'd told me 10 years ago that I'd be playing her first round at Wimbledon, that's just crazy." The match was an epic. Williams, 44 years old, showed flashes of the brilliance that had defined her career. Her serve was still a weapon, clocking speeds over 120 miles per hour. Her ground strokes were still explosive. Her fighting spirit was still unbreakable.
She saved a match point in the second set tiebreak. She led by a break in the deciding set. She was one step away from becoming the oldest woman to win a singles match at Wimbledon in more than 20 years. But Joint refused to fold. "I don't think I have quite processed it yet," she would say after the match. She had barely slept the night before, overwhelmed by the thought of playing Williams on center court. But when the moment came, she was ready. The final score, 6-3, 6-7, 6, 6-3. 2 hours and 22 minutes of tennis that would define both players' careers. Joint had not just beaten Serena Williams, she had beaten her on center court at Wimbledon in front of a full house. "Stepping out on court with Serena was something I never thought I'd get to do," Joint admitted. "The stadium is pretty much what I expected, a full stadium and very loud. They also cheered for me a lot, which I didn't think they were going to do as much as they did. That was a nice surprise." The victory sent shockwaves through the tennis world. The dream showdown between Eala and Williams, the matchup everyone had been waiting for, would not happen. Instead, it would be Joint standing across the net. And for Eala, that meant something far more personal. A chance for redemption, a shot at revenge, a rematch with the woman who had broken her heart exactly 1 year earlier. Eala had watched the match unfold from the locker room. She had seen Joint's incredible victory, and she had smiled, because the ghost of Eastbourne had just been resurrected, and this time she was ready to exorcise it. July 2nd, 2026. Court 1 at the All England Club. The rematch the tennis world didn't know it needed. The atmosphere was electric. The Filipino flags waved in the stands, a sea of red, white, and blue stretching across the court. The crowd was loud. The stakes were high. And standing across the net from Eala was the woman who had haunted her for an entire year. Maya Joint was no longer the qualifier who had stolen a title from her grasp. She was the woman who had just defeated the greatest champion of all time on center court. She was riding a wave of momentum that had the entire tennis world talking. But Eala was a different player than the one who had walked off the court in tears at Eastbourne. A year of growth, a year of training, a year of learning from her mistakes. She had won a UWTA 125 title on grass. She had beaten world number 2 Elena Rybakina and number 8 Alina Svitolina. She had earned a historic Wimbledon seed. She had dismantled Renata Zarazua in the first round with a level of dominance that left no doubt about her intentions. She was ready. "I had a really great match with Maya last year, so I'd love to have the chance to improve on some of the things that I could have improved from that match," Eala had said after her first-round victory. Those words, spoken with the calm of someone who had processed her pain, masked the fire that had been burning inside her for 365 days. From the very first point, it was clear this would be no ordinary match. Eala came out firing. Her ground strokes were precise, her movement was fluid, her confidence was unshakable. She was determined to write a different ending this time. Joint, for her part, refused to go quietly. She had beaten Serena Williams on center court. She had saved 4 championship points against Eala a year ago. She knew exactly how to make the Filipina uncomfortable. She extended rallies. She forced errors. She made Eala work for every single point. "We had an amazing, epic match last time we played in Eastbourne, so I'm expecting the same kind of match this time. And yeah, I'm really excited. I think it's going to be really fun." The first set was a war. The second set was even more brutal. Both players refused to give an inch. Every point was a battle. Every game was a test of wills. And then, in the decisive moments, Eala did something she couldn't do a year ago. She held on. She didn't let the lead slip away. She didn't let the ghost of Eastbourne haunt her. She stepped up, delivered when it mattered most, and closed out the match. The victory was her first career win in the second round of a Grand Slam. The path ahead was daunting, a potential third-round clash with either five-time Grand Slam champion Iga Swiatek or former world number 1 Karolina Pliskova. Eala and Swiatek had split their two career meetings, with the Filipina stunning the Polish star in the quarterfinals of the 2025 Miami Open before Swiatek returned the favor at the Mutua Madrid Open. But that was a battle for another day. For now, Eala had done what she set out to do. She had proven that she could learn from her mistakes. She had shown the world that she was ready for anything. The rivalry with Joint was far from over. Two players, two nations, two dreams colliding on the biggest stage in tennis, a battle that would be remembered long after the grass had faded. And this time, Eala had written a different ending.
The final point had been won. The crowd had erupted. The tears had flowed. But as the celebration on Court 1 began to fade, the weight of what had just happened began to sink in. Eala had done what she couldn't do a year ago. She had held on. She had written a different ending. She had exorcised the ghost of Eastbourne once and for all. The victory over Maya Joint was more than just a win. It was a statement, a declaration that the girl who had cried in Eastbourne was now a woman who could conquer the biggest stage in tennis. It was proof that she had grown, matured, and learned from the bitterest defeat of her career. Eala had made history at the All England Club. Before this year, she had never won a main draw match at Wimbledon. Now she had become the first Filipina in the Open era to reach the third round at the All England Club. The milestone was historic, but it was also deeply personal. The rivalry with Joint was far from over. Two players, two nations, two dreams colliding on the biggest stage in tennis, a battle that would be remembered long after the grass had faded. But this time, Eala had written a different ending. I had a really great match with Maya last year, so I'd love to have the chance to improve on some of the things that I could have improved from that match, she had said before the match. Those words were more than just a statement. They were a declaration, a promise that she would never let history repeat itself. And she had kept that promise. But the victory was about something far deeper than revenge. It was about the lesson she had learned from the bitterest defeat of her career. It was about the journey that had brought her here, the early mornings at the Rafa Nadal Academy, the lonely hours on practice courts, the sacrifices her family had made, the unwavering support of a nation that had adopted her as their own. The sea of red, white, and blue had been with her every step of the way. Thousands of Filipino fans had traveled thousands of miles to witness history. They had waved their flags, they had chanted her name, they had believed in her when no one else did. The Filipinos, we have such a strong sense of community, Eala had said earlier in the year. I feel like when one of us does well or one of us is succeeding, we all have that shared sense of pride. That sense of pride was on full display at Court 1. The roar of the crowd, the sea of flags, the tears of joy. It wasn't just a tennis match, it was a celebration of everything the Philippines had achieved through this remarkable young woman. Now the challenge awaiting Eala was formidable. In the third round, she was scheduled to face Iga Swiatek, the five-time Grand Slam champion and world number 1. The two had split their career meetings, with Eala stunning the Polish star in the quarterfinals of the 2025 Miami Open, before Swiatek returned the favor at the Mutua Madrid Open. The rematch was set for July 4th. But that was a battle for another day. For now, Eala had done what she set out to do. She had proven that she could learn from her mistakes. She had shown the world that she was ready for anything. She had carried the hopes of 115 million people on her shoulders, and she had delivered. The ghost of Eastbourne had been laid to rest. A new chapter had begun, and Eala was just getting started.